All right, everybody, welcome back to Bean Talk here for our 10th episode. Hard to believe we've been at this for 10 weeks already. But obviously, let's just get right into this. Got some pretty interesting topics and a little way to switch it up right at the end.
Yeah, so last week we were very heavy on the AFC with the whole playoff implications. Now, after last week, now the NFC is starting to heat up a bit. So obviously, this to right up the most important part is obviously the battle for that one seed. Obviously, the three teams are pretty much up there: the Niners, Eagles, and the Cowboys. Lions have a pretty decent chance.
Shot.
Yeah, they have a downside shot. Well, I wouldn't say a stretch, but it's there. But realistically, it comes down to the Niners, Cowboys, Eagles. Obviously, with the Cowboys getting embarrassed by the Bills, and it's the Seahawks. Drew Lock putting up a show against the Eagles, and then the Niners just continuing to dominate once again. Unfortunately, for those three teams, a lot's kind of not at stake. I wouldn't say at stake, but a lot is more of control of the destiny. If Niners win out, they get the one seed. If the Niners lose one more game, Cowboys win out, believe we do get the one seed. And if we win out and Philly wins out, we would still win the East because of those tiebreakers. Because of tiebreakers, since Philly has one more conference loss for us, which is the Seahawks, so that really helps us a bit. So regardless if both of us win out, we get the East, or if we lose one more, Philly wins out, they get the division. It's all over the place.
There's all this little chaos that we got right now throughout all the figures. I mean, even like you were saying, Lions technically they do have that outside.
They have a decent
because shot, let's look at that game against the Cowboys coming up the following week. That could also give them, a big boost. Obviously, we see the Cowboys, maybe a little iffy after that recent loss. And, obviously the Eagles very iffy. And maybe if San Fran does lose that game to Baltimore, maybe if the Rams can pull an upset in Week 18, there's a lot of switches that could go on.
Actually, I was actually thinking of that because the way the Rams, they're a completely different team than how they were in the beginning of the season towards mid-season. They're really, I will say, I will put the Rams in the category, like how I categorized the Bills in the last episode. The Rams are a slightly better team than what their record says, and that can go for a lot of teams in the league. The way Matthew Stafford's been playing, how consistently he's been playing, how the offense has been rolling. Sure, McVay's play calling can be a little iffy. I know you've had your things on that, and that young defense. Sure, the secondary, it could be a liability, especially with Darion Kendrick getting burnt a lot. But with him being at the third spot, that's where he shows glimpses of succession.
Because for some reason, Raheem Morris and McVay really seem to be favoring him. So maybe a performance like what just happened recently in that Commanders game will change that. But regardless of what you say about the Rams really do look like a team better than what their record shows. In all honesty, there's been for one, what I always talk about that how good they play against these great teams. Aside from that Cowboys game, which was an absolute embarrassment, every single game has been close. We kept it insanely close with the Niners. We kept it close with the Eagles when they were actually looking like a top team. So, and of course, that game against the Ravens was probably our best game of the season. Unfortunately, we didn't get to pull that one out. But regardless, they're playing, up to, such a great level. And I know, that Packers loss, that Steelers loss, even that Bengals loss. Look at those three games that they realistically should have won.
You guys would be like at least the fifth seed. Technically, you guys would, I would say the fifth seed.
We could be battling the Niners for the NFC West.
That Steelers game with the horrible fourth down call, that just horrible play with Brett Rippon that started against the Packers, and then
I look back, as much as I always say, if we would have picked up Carson Wentz a little earlier, if we would have gotten rid of Brett Maher a little earlier. There's all these scenarios that
a lot of hypothetical situations. That's it is, but you really can't change the outcome of that. But from the looks of this, how it is, the last 3 minute games, the Rams, they have a decent shot. Obviously, you guys got a big game tomorrow against the Saints, where that's a really important game for both those teams. With the Saints trying to
both 7-7. Of course, the Saints just a tiebreaker away from leading that NFC South, and of course the Rams, for the moment, holding that 7th seed.
And we do host you guys, and with how we are at home, who knows? But again, any given Sunday.
Yeah, of course. But, just getting back to that, this Thursday night game is gonna tell us a lot. The playoff percentages are also being told a lot, which I believe. I don't remember the exact numbers, but whoever wins this basically have a 75% type shot. The Rams lose, that goes right down to 20. No, that goes down to I believe 9 or something.
The Saints,
the Saints are the ones that they still have favorable shot.
The way with the division is, and the tiebreaker with the Bucks and the Falcons.
Basically, for the Rams, you lose this game, the season's basically over. But, right now, you beat the Saints, you're probably going to beat the Giants the following weekend. could end up coming down to that Niners game. But I mean, regardless, this game is going to be very important. Obviously, I got very much into it in the previous video from yesterday. It's just it's going to be a very important game, and obviously, for you yourself, there's also going to be a lot of very important games coming up.
Yeah, with us now, I can actually go a little bit more in depth. With next week game against the Dolphins. Obviously, already a shot in the foot. We're playing them at Miami, and we suck on the road, and it's not like we're gonna. I hope we don't get blown out, honestly, but it's doable with how loaded the offense is, with the defense being, I guess you could say, inconsistent when they're supposed to be labeled as a top defense, but with Tua's decision making and how our defense can actually compete to a standard at that point, it could be a very close game. And that's obviously fantasy wise, I'm already contemplating whether to start the Cowboys defense or Chiefs, but that's a topic for probably Sunday. But it's going to be a lot of implications at stand. If we lose that game, forget about the division. Forget about the 1 seed.
Because if you're going to say, for the division, I mean, look at the Eagles' schedule right now. What's that? They playing the Giants.
The Giants, Cardinals, and then Giants once again.
So, I mean, that one, they're pretty much guaranteed, aside from an absolute collapse, they're probably guaranteed to win out to this point. So, I mean, you never know. Look, they got Matt Patricia at DC, so we'll wait and see how it ends up for there. But, I mean, regardless, you probably expect the Eagles to win out. So, the Cowboys, I mean, two very, very difficult games coming up.
Yeah.
You probably see the Eagles with more of an outside shot to win that division. But, I mean, the path for the 5th seed doesn't look too bad as it seems. It's just, that divisional round, you're probably going to have to end up facing into the 49ers.
We're mostly, and, the Niners, I have to, I just know denying it, they've been owning us for the past, 2 years? They're 3-0 against us in the past 2 years. I really can't look past that, especially visiting them. That's something I don't want. Hopefully.
One thing I will say, the Rams do sneak in. If we get that 7th seed, look, if we end up playing the Eagles, I'm gonna tell you right now, I feel very confident.
No, yeah, it's a very winnable game.
So at that point, we'd end up facing San Fran, and you'd probably be getting Detroit, probably something like. So
I would rather
right there.
If the Rams could, help us a little bit, I'd rather much face Detroit than face the Niners.
Well, yeah, honestly, the only teams that really scare me right now, maybe, San Fran for sure. They're obviously the top dog right now, but maybe, Dallas, of course, too, just because of how that game looked. I mean, sure, we're different teams from what that game was, but, those are only 2 teams that I really don't want to face. If we end up facing Philly or Detroit, I have a very strong belief that we will win in that wild card one.
No, realistically, I want to say the Eagles is probably a more doable win for that, especially, like I've said this since the whole season, that Philly defense is really depleted since last season. Obviously, they picked it up a bit not that long ago, but obviously still going to go down. Obviously, the acquiring Shaq Leonard at the linebacker position, which has not fulfilled their needs at all, and it kind of makes
me talking about the defense. That's kind of my reason that I kind of believe that. I know maybe you're saying maybe pump the brakes on the Lions a bit, but I honestly do have a belief that the Lions defense, they're not scaring me at all right now. Sure, they had a pretty decent game against Denver right now, but I'm not sold 100% just yet. And sure, they're kind of a team that, if their offense is firing, they probably got that game unlocked. But, the Rams defense, they're sneaky good as much as they have been.
Oh yeah,
I definitely have a belief
developed as, I guess you could say, they develop as a trap team in a way. That's why I'm saying there can be like a sneaky
trap team is probably someone that is probably a little down there in the standings. Right now the Rams are just more of a sleeper.
That's a little bit more. Put it like I said, they're way better than what the record shows, but obviously a lot of implications that stand for both our teams coming into next week.
Probably a way that a lot of people are seeing. The Rams and the Bills probably very evenly right now.
Oh yeah, I know the Bills are far way better.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're far way better than what the record says, and I've been pointing that out a lot. Obviously, just a lot of close games, chokes.
Yeah, and that's basically what it is. I mean, honestly, I see a lot of parallels with both of these teams. Probably losing some games that you really should have won, but also probably being in some games that you probably didn't expect to be in.
Which is how I feel, about my team. Look, we should have beat the Cardinals, and we should have beat the Eagles that game. We would be in a much better position at the. Probably get the 1 seed.
Probably be at the 1 seed.
We probably would be
at the Niners skid that they just won.
Yeah, especially with the 0-3, but I believe it was listening to the Vikings. Who were the other Vikings?
Browns and Bengals.
Browns, Bengals. So they would have had another conference loss. Well, I think one less or one more. I'm not too sure.
Just one more.
One more conference loss than us. So we would be locked at the 1 seed if it wasn't for those 2 games. But as with the Cowboys, it's always games we're supposed to win and we end up losing. It's just. And that's why happened last year, and that's why we ended up being at the 5th seed. But obviously, with this season, looking more into it, the way Dak's been playing. I'm not gonna let that game obviously look at the next couple of games of how he's gonna play with that.
But the only thing that's probably gonna hurt is probably his MVP chances.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, it's just the award. I know what everyone's really going for. They're going for that Lombardi. So I mean, hey, all that matters is if Dallas can kind of get hot again. Get back on the right track. That's all that matters going into the playoffs.
Yeah, if everything Dak doesn't win MVP, that's just more salt in the wound for Dak to play even harder. Which I do believe he's the guy to do this. That Bills game, he just really wasn't no hope, and sure his MVP resume did go down a bit, but it could be the same for Brock Purdy. If he ends up losing to the Ravens, could his MVP stance go down a little bit? Maybe boost McCaffrey's shot a little bit more. Who knows? Or same thing with next week with Tyreek Hill. If he ends up having a monster game against that top 3 Dallas defense, improves their chances a little bit more. So obviously those 4 players next week, same games. It's a lot at stake, especially for specifically that award. But like you said, everyone's really going for that Lombardi.
Yeah. But of course, we're just gonna also throw in a little different type topic going into to the tail end of this episode. Obviously, we don't really get that much personal as we probably would want, so we're gonna kind of throw in something in here. Let's talk about our favorite memory going to an NFL game. So Christian, I know we've kind of talked about this one at times, so I'll let you open yours up.
I have a lot, not really a lot, but it's more of a decent amount. But I think my best one was probably. I think it was opening week, hosting the Giants in 2015. That one season I really don't want to really talk about, especially as a 5th grader.
Was that your only time going to AT&T? Or
yeah, that was my only time going to AT&T Stadium at Jerry World as a 5th grader. It was opening against the Giants. So the atmosphere was great. Honestly, as a how old was I? I was 9.
Probably 9.
I was 9, turning 10. Yeah. As soon as I remember walking into those doors, it was just huge, man. Like the field, just the whole atmosphere was great.
Yeah, that's definitely a place. I mean, for me, obviously we talked about this. We wanted to end up going to that Rams Cowboys game out there. That's a stadium I really would love to get to see in person. Maybe eventually in a couple of years down the line, if the Rams go back there, we could probably plan that trip and eventually.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And just the atmosphere that really got to me. That just really brought the voice, especially with being more around my people, the same fans as me. That was really great. But it happens when I go to SoFi sometimes, Majority Cowboys fans.
I know what. Sure. When you went, I believe you went this season to
when I went for the Chargers game. It was just Cowboys.
Even for a Rams game that we actually do have more of a fan base out here. The Chargers had no fans out here. Let's just put it that way.
Especially that one, industry plant fan.
They have no fans regardless, and you see the fan base that the Cowboys have. Obviously, they get their shit, but they have one of the craziest followings.
We do. And just being there at AT&T with my family and my sister, just when we got to our seats, just watching that game. At first, I really wasn't know what was going on. I kind of got the basics, the first down, touchdowns.
So you're still learning the game, by the way.
I was kind of still learning the game. I didn't fully learn the game until middle school. Yeah. But just watching it, I remember just watching the last final drive with Tony Romo leading it down. We were down 6 points, and then obviously.
Was that the Witten game?
It was the Witten game.
Yeah,
it was the Witten game.
Because the secret base videos. I've seen a video on that one.
Yeah, I remember there was the botch snap where Travis Frederick, still missed Travis Frederick at center. He botched a snap, and Tony Romo just doing what Tony Romo does, his Romo magic, and it hits the Witten straight in the end zone. That's pretty much what sealed the deal. And then, the rest is pretty much history. Tony Romo goes down, and that's the rise of Dak Prescott for the next season. But that was probably my best memorable moment I've had. Probably as a kid. Yeah, not being realistic.
Actually, listening to it now. I actually, putting the pieces together. I do remember that game kind of vividly now that I think about it. And pretty interesting to know that was the one that you went to. But for me, I've honestly, I've been blessed. I live in the city that my team plays in, so I get the advantage. I've actually, I've had the privilege to go to so many games recently, but I think my favorite one is gonna have to be, my first regular season game back at the Coliseum. It was my only regular season game that I got to see at the Coliseum. The crazy Thursday night game against the Vikings in 2018, which, obviously very well known, that big shootout, Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff. My favorite memory from that game, I just remember the bomb to Cooper Kupp, something that, sign of things to come. Obviously, it was his second year. He was barely getting into, which I believe the week after or 2 weeks later, unfortunately, was when he tore his ACL, and that's what eventually, was.
It was that year. It was that year.
Because I stay by this. If he wouldn't have torn his ACL, we would have beat the Patriots in that Super Bowl, man. Yeah, that's just one of the big things that I always look back. Just regardless. It was such such a great game that I mean, I just feel like so personal. I mean, it was my birthday gift. I believe it was the day before my birthday that we got to go. I mean, got the towel from it right there. Then I mean, well, in the videos you can't see my head always blocking it, but I mean, just a great atmosphere. You know, honestly, you know, got a really nice seat to it. I mean, the Coliseum is such a great atmosphere. I got to go there twice. Yeah, and it was just a real blast. I mean, obviously, you know, now I get to see, you know, games at SoFi, which I mean, also just a phenomenal.
I mean, it's like 45 minutes from here, so I mean, you can pretty much go whenever they
and obviously, and you know, that's something else. You know, one of these days we got to go out to one of those games ourselves, just the two of us. But I mean, yeah, there's just it's sure going to SoFi is an upgrade from, you know, what the Coliseum was, but I mean, you can't beat that traditional, that, you know, that vintage heritage that you get from the Coliseum, and, you know, being able to live. I mean, sure, it wasn't that Chiefs Rams game that Monday night. That, you know, our boy Carvajal got to go to it.
Yeah, I know he was really lucky for that game, bro. I mean, I feel if you went to that game, that would have been even way better for you.
I remember I wanted to, but I didn't get to. But I mean, regardless, you know, it was a really good game to go. I remember Aaron Donald wrapping that game up on the sack of Kirk Cousins, and just, I forget the score of it, but I mean, I know it was close. He was like, you know, 34-31, some shit like that. But I mean, just a phenomenal game to go to. Obviously, you know, I keep saying that because it was just like, it was one of my more vivid memories.
It's always the atmosphere and you know, the memories of going there, especially going to a great game. I mean, all the Cowboys games I went to, they were great games.
Because I'm gonna just, you know, remember. I mean, you said, you know, your first game, you know, you were still learning the game. By this point, I was already pretty immersed because I know I kind of probably have a little bit of a head start on, you know, when I got into it, because and this was way back in our first video, but you know, back when I mentioned, you know, I got immersed to it in Super Bowl 47. I got to watch it, you know, with my dad, and he was basically teaching the game to me right there. So I was already pretty well versed in it. You know, I was pretty well versed in the team itself. The Rams had been here for a couple years by then, and it was just you know, one of my favorite memories. Just looking back on it from this team.
Yeah, man. And obviously, you know, we've all had memories, especially since we obviously met each other freshman year, and obviously that one game when we played, we actually stonewalled you guys, but not really a core memory right there, but you know, just something little thrown out, and obviously really just the memories that we really make there, just probably the best thing, especially as a kid now, and obviously now it's a little bit more different since, you know, we're adults now. Feel like it'll be a little more different.
If you think about it, you know, by this point, you know, you kind of feel that you can actually, you know, appreciate them a little more because you know what you're living. Because, you know, maybe, I mean, I feel like I probably did get to appreciate the game. I think I was like, you know, 13, 14 by that point, but, you know, you really get to appreciate it now. I know you appreciate the time that you got to go to AT&T, but, you know, you're probably a little younger. You don't really, you know, get that appreciation. And now, you know,
because at first I didn't want to go. And then my dad, and
I couldn't even imagine that.
Yeah, at first I didn't want to go because I didn't want to miss school, but it was 5th grade, and then I just told my dad
you didn't want to miss school.
Yeah, and I know that was stupid, bro. And I'm like, and then I just told my dad, I'm like, yo, give me the ticket, let's go. And I'm not gonna regret it because every Cowboys game I went to was always a great game. That Giants game, and then obviously the Chargers game this season, I'll create that. I just, like, again, I'm gonna keep saying, just the atmosphere that really puts my memory into the.
And that's what really does it a lot for you. Yeah. It's the atmosphere that you get to bear on. I mean, you get into a decent section, just a rowdy section. It's something that, you know, it really adds to experience for you.
Yeah.
But of course, I mean, that's just something that, you know, obviously we want to incorporate ourselves, you know, bring in our memories from football, bring in just, you know, the personal touch that we've been wanting to bring into it. So, I mean, that's obviously, you know, really nice way to just get that flowing here. But of course, you know, that'll wrap us up here for our 10th episode. Probably a good way to get it into the 10th episode, a little milestone type shit. But hopefully, you know, obviously, thank you guys for watching. Hope you like and subscribe, and hope to keep you guys around for the next couple videos.